The other thing I want to talk about is the spectrum of Parkinsonism. You've heard, some of us will even use the words Parkinson's disease, idiopathic Parkinson's disease, and Parkinsonism as synonymous. And I just want to take a second to kind of clear up what the difference is. So there are many forms of Parkinsonism. There are forms of Parkinsonism that are the result of genetics. There are forms of Parkinsonism that are the result of heavy metal exposure, manganese toxicity. When we don't have an explanation for what caused your particular form of Parkinsonism, and it meets a certain set of criteria, about 80% of people with Parkinsonism actually have a diagnosis of idiopathic Parkinson's disease. It doesn't really clear much up for us. We still don't know what caused idiopathic Parkinson's disease. We still don't have a cure for idiopathic Parkinson's disease, but it does put you into a little bit more of a predictable cohort where you can start to say, hey, other people who started with one-sided symptoms that came on, over X number of years, you start to kind of put the pieces together and you can start to identify people like me. And the reason that's really most important is because idiopathic Parkinson's disease tends to respond really well to dopaminergic medicines, levodopa, things like that. If people don't respond so well to levodopa and the dopaminergic meds, we just start to wonder, could it be a different form of Parkinsonism? And this just helps kind of get your bearings in terms of what's coming around the corner. But probably about 10 years ago, the Greater Boston Physicians for Social Responsibility put out a fabulous publication about environmental threats to healthy aging. And in that publication, they had a really nice chart that kind of showed the overlap between all these different forms of neurodegenerative diseases. And what you realize when you look at this graph is that the difference between idiopathic Parkinson's disease with dementia, Lewy body dementia, MSA, Alzheimer's, there's a tremendous amount of overlap between these. And it doesn't mean that you are inevitably going to get symptoms of Alzheimer's. What it tells us is that the underlying process is the same. These are all diseases of protein aggregation. Basically what's happening is in all of these diseases, your body is making a whole bunch of a particular protein that starts to accumulate inside your cells and essentially gunks up the cells so that they don't work anymore until the point where that cell dies. So in Alzheimer's disease, you have different proteins gunking up a different region of the brain. In Parkinson's disease, we tend to have alpha-synuclein gunking up the neurons in the substantia nigra. But really, the underlying process of how your body is making and misfolding proteins and how the brain is unable to clear all these misfolded proteins is really similar between the diseases. What does that mean for you? Like I said, it absolutely does not mean that you are inevitably going to get a lot of these other symptoms of these other diseases. Not at all. But it does mean that we can learn from the other conditions. I mean, I really think that when we cure Parkinson's, the cure for Alzheimer's will be right around the corner right behind it. If we cure Alzheimer's, the cure for Parkinson's is going to be right around the corner right behind it. If we can really get to the bottom of what is causing this protein aggregation, this misfolding, this inability to clear the misfolded proteins, it is going to serve the entire spectrum of neurodegenerative diseases. So the other thing that this means, there are a lot more people with Alzheimer's than there are people with Parkinson's disease. And a lot more research has been done. A lot more money has been invested into Alzheimer's disease. And so what this means is that we can use some of their research too as a hint, as a clue. You'll see that a lot of the foods that have been associated with slower progression or prevention against Alzheimer's are the exact same foods that are associated with slower progression or protection of Parkinson's disease. So we can use this to our advantage, and I think as a community we can partner with Alzheimer's researchers and Parkinson's researchers and find that we actually can get further collaborating and working together.